Hello from David and from me. Welcome to a new week on Anglia Tonight.
First tonight, the couple from Suffolk vowing to fight for their daughter after she fled to Spain to prevent social services taking her baby away.
Megan Coote and her newly born daughter Olivia are still living abroad, with Megan's mother Lorraine fearing if they return to this country, Olivia will be taken into care.
Back in Suffolk, Megan's father Dale says he's determined to do everything he can to keep the whole family together. Victoria Webb reports.
Life for the Coote family has been very difficult in recent months. Married for 25 years, Dale is currently having to live away from his wife Lorraine, while he, his son, daughter and granddaughter are in Kesgrave. His other daughter Megan is with her mum in Spain after giving birth to her first baby.
It's really heartbreaking. I mean, the amount of tears I think we'd be draining him, you know. What do we say, you know, what can we do?
I met Megan at the beginning of last month as she prepared for the arrival of Olivia. Megan has mild learning difficulties and has problems showing her emotions. After being assessed by social services, they came to the conclusion that Megan could possibly emotionally neglect her baby in the future. Within a few weeks of their story being shown on Anglia Tonight, Dale and Lorraine took Megan to Spain, and on the 15th of February, she gave birth to Olivia.
Megan is fantastic. She has done every single thing a new mum needs to do. She's made the bottles herself. She's feeding the babe during the night herself. She's doing everything that really needs to be done.
Dale says if Megan was to return to the UK with Olivia, then she would immediately be taken into care. Dale and Lorraine want Suffolk Social Services to give Megan a chance in a mother and baby unit like the one in Peterborough. They say if after a while social services are still not confident that she can look after Olivia, then they should be able to foster her.
Me and Dale have quite openly said that, you know, if Megan does have any problems, then we will be there. We would adopt, foster, we would support Megan if she could come and live with us, and we would support her. We would do anything to keep Olivia with us.
Lorraine and Dale have come across a number of other families, including another couple from Suffolk who are in a similar situation.
I believe that couples who face intervention of this sort have less legal rights than if they were accused of murdering their own child, and I think the whole system therefore needs to be overhauled.
Suffolk County Council says in all cases, children's services work hard to support parents and families so that children can remain in their own families. Where that is not possible, an application must be made to the court together with relevant information. It is then for the court to decide what is in the child's best interest. Dale says he'll move them all over to Spain if that's what it takes to keep them together. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, Kesgrave.
7 flood warnings remain in place across parts of Bedfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Buckinghamshire and Essex tonight, following heavy rain over the past few days.
In some parts of our region, like Wattisham in Suffolk, the last week of February saw more rain than we'd normally see in a whole month.
And because of that heavy rain, many roads, in fact, remained closed today. But that didn't stop some drivers in Essex and in Cambridgeshire trying to pass through flooded areas. Lorna Ramsey reports.
The sun may have been out today, but the weekend's heavy rain is still taking its toll on roads across our region. This driver found himself in deep trouble when he tried to drive through Butsbury Wash between Ingatestone and Billericay in Essex this morning.
Slowly, yes, keep going, slowly.
His wife managed to pull him out, but his car may be damaged.
Words can't describe what I'm thinking right now. It's a wally. Who would go into that water? I don't know. But yes, he's gone in.
Butsbury Wash is notorious for motorists getting stuck in heavy rain. And those that live locally have very little sympathy with drivers that try their luck.
There's plenty of signs, road closures and that, but they still take a chance and go through.
There are a lot of people in 4x4s that don't realise that they can't sort of cope with sort of water that deep. I've seen too many army films of Land Rovers, that are proper Land Rovers.
And it was the same story in parts of Cambridgeshire. Drivers abandoned their cars in Barrington, and in Grantchester, the fields took the brunt of the flooding. Mill Lane in Little Paxton near St Neots is a flooding hotspot and was closed again today. Some people say action needs to be taken to stop the problem.
Nobody wants to take responsibility But when it takes somebody like me who works in St Neots over an hour and a quarter to get to work of a morning when each time this happens, and I'm just one of thousands, it's costing somebody a lot of money.
Flooding across the region is monitored from this incident room at Brampton near Huntingdon. The Environment Agency says its priority is protecting people and property.
We'd be wanting to make sure that public are aware of the hazards and the risks associated with being near rivers in high flow. You can't see the water's edge, you don't know how deep the water is. Please stay well aware and be careful not to get close to our swollen rivers at this time.
The agency is also reminding motorists of the dangers of driving through flooded areas. But that message is too late for this driver at Butsbury in Essex. He may have escaped unhurt, but his car might not be so lucky. Lorna Ramsey, Anglia News, Butsbury.
The director of the University of East Anglia's Climatic Research Unit faced questions from MPs today about the Climate Gate row over global warming data.
Professor Phil Jones appeared before the Science and Technology Committee to answer questions on the disclosure of data from the world-renowned research centre in Norwich.
The unit has been under fire since emails which sceptics claim show evidence of scientists manipulating climate data. They were leaked online last year. Our political correspondent Matthew Hudson is in Westminster and joins us live now. Matthew.
Yes, some fairly tough questions for Professor Jones to answer today. This, as you say, all started when those emails from the UEA's Climate Research Unit were stolen and then turned up on climate skeptic websites purporting to show that scientists were manipulating results to get the results that they wanted. Well, today the Science Committee seemed prepared to accept from Dr. Jones that his words had been taken out of context and did not add up to him admitting that data was being hidden from the public. However, there were tougher questions on the way that data from the UEA was being released. The committee wanted to know whether it was true that they were dragging their heels about it because they didn't want their opponents to be able to use it. At one point, Professor Jones had his own words quoted to him. He had said to one of his opponents, "Where's the effect of why should I release this data to you when the only thing you want it for is to try and find problems with it?" And that for the UEA seems to be the case, that they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If they don't release all of this data, then people will say that they're covering something up. If they do, then people will try and pick holes in it.
So, Matthew, how else is this matter being investigated?
Well, Becky, there is to be an independent inquiry, and there was a broad wink from the committee today that they don't expect the UEA to have already made up its mind that Professor Jones and his colleagues have not done anything wrong until that review is completed.
Matt, thanks very much indeed. American civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson is in Cambridge today speaking about the importance of voting in UK elections.
Jackson, who worked closely with Martin Luther King, is to address students at Cambridge University tonight. Our reporter Malcolm Robertson is in Cambridge for us and he joins us now. Malcolm.
Well, yes, quite a coup for the Cambridge Union. In fact, students already queuing to see the Reverend Jackson, who will be here in about an hour and a quarter. And, of course, in his role as a major civil rights leader, he'll be addressing the students and taking part in a question and answer session. Well, earlier this afternoon, we saw the Reverend Jackson a few miles from here at the American Military Cemetery at Madingley, where more than 3,800 Americans are buried, and he laid a wreath in tribute to their efforts during the Second World War. His is one of the most recognisable faces on the international stage. Today, on the first day of spring, and in what some might describe as the autumn of his political life, the Reverend Jesse Jackson was at the American Military Cemetery at Madingley to see for himself the sacrifices made by thousands of his fellow countrymen and women. A poignant visit ahead of his address to students at the Cambridge Union.
We fought a necessary war and won the war. Some wars now seem to be made for TV wars. Some even unnecessary wars. One might question the necessity of the Iraq War.
3,812 Americans killed in East Anglia during the Second World War are buried at Madingley, remembered forever by simple white crosses. On this wall, the names of more than 5,000 others who went missing, among them Joseph Kennedy, older brother of President John Kennedy. It was about the time of his assassination that a young Jesse Jackson became involved in the civil rights movement in America, and he's been a leading figure for almost 50 years. In the 60s, he worked closely with Martin Luther King up until Dr. King's assassination. By the late 1970s, he was campaigning against South African apartheid and arguing for a Palestinian state. In the 80s, he twice ran unsuccessfully for the Democratic presidential nomination, establishing him as the country's best-known black politician.